We're going to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Open session public meetings are subject to being videotaped. Your image and voice may be recorded. We have appointments at 7:30, 7:45, and 8. I would just say for anybody who is here for the Qdoba that we will, and we'll discuss this when we get later on, but because of problems with noticing the meeting, we're going to be rescheduling that. So the only thing we will be doing at 7:45 is talking about rescheduling that. Okay. All right then, with that done, we'll jump into the regular agenda. Okay, we have no minutes at this point, correct?
Right.
Okay. And the first order of business is the appointment of Ellen Svinkonik as registrar. This is registrar of voters?
Right.
Correct. For a term to expire on May 31st, 2020. Accept a motion?
Motion to appoint Ellen Svinkonik as a registrar.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
No.
Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next is a letter acknowledging Lee Tabor's resignation from the Conservation Commission and thanking him for his service. I don't know how many years he's been on it, but I think...
I tried to research it.
That's what I was just going to ask.
I think it goes back, because I think it goes back to about the time that I started on Concom, which was in 85 or 86, so I think it's a long
Do you want
time.
to do another one? Do you want me to hold that?
No, I think, we can thank him for his service without being able to count exactly the years, but it's been about 30 years on the
Wow.
Concom. So with that, I would accept a motion to accept Lee's resignation and acknowledge his long service.
So moved?
Second.
Any further comments or questions?
No.
Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, the next item on the agenda was an item for us as Personnel Committee to approve a new salary for Fire Captain. I had wanted to talk to the Fire Chief about this before we considered it. I had just recently moved to be the rep for the Fire Department. I had hoped to do that last week when we had a meeting with MEMA, but the chief couldn't make that. So I have an appointment to talk with the chief tomorrow at 9:15 ahead of the 1870 Town Hall meeting, and so I'm suggesting that we defer this and put this on the agenda for next Monday.
Okay.
Okay? All right. We have the Town Hall elevator project. And before I forget, again, I wasn't able to attend the Town Hall elevator meeting, and thank you for going and making our points. I will attend tomorrow because I'm going to be in town. And at that point, I'm hoping to nail down 2 or 3 dates that we can give the abutters to talk about.
Okay.
Those
Would you like me to attend?
That is completely up to you.
Okay.
I can, if you want to take a break.
I'm
That's fine?
I'm actually up at 8 o'clock to go to the town barn meeting, so
Yeah.
if I'm available, I'll stop in.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll be there to cover, so, and anybody can come at any
Right.
time, so. All right, then we have the approval for the first
It's all
general.
set. It's already, it's, the clerk of the works has signed off on that invoice, and that's gone through.
Okay,
That just happened today, I think.
okay. So by saying it's all set,
That's the first invoice that ACG as clerk of the works has signed off
Yeah.
on this project.
but
And-
we then further sign off on it.
Yep, Leanne's preparing it for next
Oh,
week's
okay,
warrant.
very good. Excellent, okay. And then what's this?
That might be it. That might be, is that it? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, this is what, for you to approve the clerk of the works invoice.
Okay, got
So
it.
you're the last sign off on that. And
Okay.
then that will be in next week's warrant as well.
Okay. All right, then we have an approval of $1,120 for the clerk of the works.
Move to approve?
Second?
Okay, any comments or questions?
No.
All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There, you want to sign that one? And the second item was the initiation of the lot line negotiations, and as I said, we'll try to
And that down.
decide who's going to attend. I would like one, at least one other person
Okay.
to attend those. I think it's always good to have, two people, from the town or something like that, and we'll see who it is, okay?
Yep.
And I will report back on that. Builder's risk insurance. We had a little bit of confusion on that. I think initially, the insurer indicated that we were covered, for this, but we needed further insurance.
And so that is, I highlighted what the estimate would be for fiscal year 18 for that. But also there's a little bit that would have to be paid out of fiscal year 17,
Right.
of which there's no money in there. So that'd be a small reserve fund transfer when we finally get invoiced on that.
Okay. All right. Okay, so
Which reminds me, we have to send it quickly.
the
so-
premium for fiscal year 18 will be $6,541.
500 or so for the rest of
Yeah, I'm looking, sorry, I'm not finding the
it. They didn't
the
actually.
split up.
They didn't.
Oh, okay, I thought you
She
said
just
that.
said a smaller amount, so if it was a 12th of that, let's say, for a month.
Okay, okay. All right. Okay, and the 12th of that would be $500
Ish,
dollars, yeah,
so
okay.
I'm gonna have to ask them to invoice quickly.
All right, yeah, this was, we didn't put this, in the budget. This is not the first time this happened. There's, it not often, but sometimes happens that we add equipment or whatever, so I think this is just something that we need to add.
Well, it's not like you cannot have insurance, so.
No, exactly. So I would, I think at this point, I'd ask for a vote to subscribe to the builder's risk insurance, again, in an amount about $6,500 for fiscal year 18 and $500 for fiscal year 17. And we'll deal with the reserve fund transfer when we get the exact amount. And,
So moved?
yep.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
No?
Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the last item to do with the 1870 Town Hall is that Assabet has confirmed that they cannot start a build until the spring. We have an issue right now about the viability of the pad if it is left open to the elements and/or the expense of trying to close it. I don't think we've come to a final conclusion on that because the first, I believe last week, the plan A was going to be see if we could move up the construction. So we will have to we'll have to discuss that at the town hall meeting and report back on that and take any action next week on that.
Okay.
Hi. We have a one-day BYOB request.
Peg says that historically that hasn't been done except for at 19 Carter Street, there have been requests for that when it's truly bring your own with no fee being charged. And in this case, the Clinton Elks do want to have it to be member BYOB with no fee being charged. They're not pouring, but they wanted to allow people to bring alcohol to a closed to the public family picnic event that is going to be at the gun club.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
And-
do you want to approve it, do nothing, if it's something that doesn't take any official action, or ask town council for advice?
Let me just take a quick look at what... All right. Mary has given us this question and answer from the ABC's FAQs. Can everyone bring their own beer, wine, or other alcoholic beverages into an establishment? And the answer is not if the establishment has a liquor license, but they don't, this entity doesn't have a liquor license.
In this town, they do in Clinton.
They do in Clinton. Okay. Sorry, they don't have a liquor, are they in this town?
No, they're not.
Yeah, I think.
Are they
are.
located in this town, the Clinton Elks?
Is that the one on Lancaster Road?
Yeah. My question would be if they're in, I believe that they are the Clinton Club, but they are just across the border. I don't know. But my question would be, if they are in Clinton, why are they asking us?
They are the Clinton Elks.
Yes.
The manager of the Clinton Elks, a bar in Clinton, is going to have their family day at the Clinton, is it the Rod and Gun Club?
Fishing
Okay.
game.
Fishing
Okay,
game, which is
now I
located in
understand. All right.
Berlin.
All right. Okay,
What
I
is
get
that
it.
gun club? I don't know.
All right. The fishing game does not have its own liquor license.
Correct, they don't.
Okay. So they are bringing it to an establishment that does not have a liquor license
Right.
here in Berlin. If the establishment has a liquor license, then no one can carry onto the premises their own beer, wine, or other alcoholic beverages for their own private consumption. If the establishment does not have a liquor license, then one must check with the city or town in which the establishment is located to learn if there is any local law dealing with bringing one's own beer onto an establishment for personal consumption. And I'm not aware of anything in the Berlin bylaws that do this.
Right.
Okay, so I think then the answer is that we can send a note to say that there is no Berlin bylaw affecting that activity.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay.
So does that mean they're allowed to do this or no?
If there's no law against it,
Then, yes.
yeah. But by the same token, we're not permitting it either, you know, that, so. All right. Municipal aggregation bid. We're asking for availability of a selectman on June 7th
Wednesday.
to sign that. That's a Wednesday. And it is at,
Well, the bids would come in to them at 11, they'd be here at the town by noon, and we would have to sign off on the contract by 4. So between noon and 4, there needs to be an evaluation of the different choices, and then a signature back to Colonial Power to make our,
and we have to
make a
do that
decision.
all in one day.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Is that something that the Energy Committee weighs in on?
Last year Judy, wearing both
Right.
Selectmen's hat and Energy Committee hat, made the decision, and her mission was lowest possible price. There's different portfolios who can go with green energy or certain percentage green, and their mission last year was just lowest possible price.
Mhm.
So it was kind of easy to determine. The only category that did not really receive a benefit from that contract was industrial, which is what the town is billed at. So really,
Right,
everyone else got the benefit of a lower than national grid rate, except for the town of Berlin.
right.
Okay, and are we expecting somebody from the Energy Committee to
Well,
help
I
us with
suppose
it?
that, yeah, I don't know if you can authorize someone to sign on the board's behalf, or if it's
No,
gonna
no, I'm
be in
not going there.
conjunction with.
I'm not going there. I'm
Yeah.
just going, if we have a window of from noon
They
to
happen to
4.
be meeting down the hallway right now, I could go kinda,
Okay.
they've been copied on this,
Okay.
Judy and Eloise.
Um,
But if any event, is there a selectman available on Wednesday, June 7th, who could, in conjunction with someone from the Energy Committee, accept a proposal? It takes a selectman signing. I guess you'd vote to authorize.
Yeah, I think last year we had, we actually, the thing was that we had, as I remembered it, we had a suggestion that came before the board voted on it, and then somebody, no?
I think you voted to authorize her with the mission of the lowest possible price.
okay.
And since she wears both hats, or did.
Right,
It
right.
was easy for her to do it.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
back.
What do people think?
Only thing on my calendar that day is the Devon's Dispatch.
Well, first of all, I mean,
In the
are
morning.
people comfortable, I mean, because one alternative is to actually post a selectmen's meeting for some time between those hours, review it, and vote on it. So let's
Mhm.
think about that first.
Okay,
Would people like to do that?
Yes.
okay.
All right.
Noon?
Yeah.
12:30? Or
12.
whatever. Noon?
Noon is probably.
That's what they say, they're gonna get the proposals over by noon, so.
All right, let's say 12:30, just so we're not hanging out waiting for it to, okay? And,
Well, is Energy still meeting? Sir, is Energy still meeting down the hallway? Oh.
He's not, he's the
No.
finance, no.
Oh, okay. Do
Yeah.
you want me to go check on that, or?
yeah, you want to quickly check and
Yeah.
see
Okay.
if they'd be available? Oh, yeah, thanks. And after this, we'll go into the 7:30 meeting and pick up the last couple of items after we
Okay,
have our meetings, because I think each of those require more than minute or two for discussion, so.
Right.
Yes.
Yes?
Judy and Tim will be there at 12:30.
Okay. All right,
They're going
then.
to deliberate a little bit more, but they believe they'll go with the lowest price again.
Okay. They can give us that recommendation then.
Right.
So, you'll post a
I
selectmen's
will.
meeting for 12:30 here.
Yep.
Okay, and let's limit the agenda just to that.
Just to that.
Yeah. If that's okay with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, we have a couple minutes. The appointment of a member for warrant signing, does this have to be one member, or can we agree that any single member can do it?
I believe the Municipal Modernization Act snippet that June sent along
Okay.
says that it would be one.
Would
Which
be-
is awkward, isn't it? So,
Well, then let's talk about that.
later.
Yeah, I was thinking it might be easy that we could just take a vote to say any of us.
Or push it off if you want.
Yeah. I gotta say, if it's one, we can talk about it, but it's it seems to me that what we've been doing on an ongoing basis is just, it only requires two.
Mhm.
And we just, it's mainly an issue in the summer when we have the off weeks. And I mean, two of us just come down. Sometimes three of us come down, but at least two of us come down. I'm
Right.
not sure it's worth the
That's true.
trouble of appointing a single person.
Because then that
Yeah.
person has to be,
Has to be there all the time, or we're back to two. So I'm not sure
Right.
that really has much of an advantage. It hasn't been a problem to
No.
just have people come in.
I think the
Right.
school committee's doing it.
Hmm?
We are.
Yes, that's correct.
And we tried to get an alternate established,
Mm-hmm.
which seemed to be the point of making the municipal modern act supposed to make things more efficient, but they won't let you have an alternate.
Right, okay.
Okay,
But
there you go.
I do think that if you, let's say it's I'm not familiar with everybody's names, but if you were assigned and you weren't eligible, you could get the other two parties' signatures. So you don't eliminate the ability of being.
Oh, I understand that. Yes, I understand that. Yep. All right, it's 7:30, so we have scheduled a hearing for the transfer of stock and beneficial interest in the Flat Penny Restaurant and all alcohol license. Is somebody here to represent this? Yes. You want to come up?
Sit, stand.
Hmm?
Sit, stand.
Yes, please. Yes.
Greg couldn't make it. He is held up at the restaurant.
No problem. No problem. All right, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Glenn Mayer,
Mhm.
former partner at the Flat Penny, and I think it's more procedural. Greg and I were both partners at the restaurant. We both have a beneficial interest in the license, and I think under the ABCC regulations, if I'm going to sell my interest in the restaurant to him, I need to transfer
Correct.
my interest in the license to him as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there since the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He's the manager on the license as well.
Yeah.
This did not require notice to the abutters. It did require a newspaper advertisement, which they did.
Okay, great. Is there any other input? I wouldn't.
Police said no problem.
Yeah.
No comment,
Okay.
no issues.
All right. And I would note that this is transferring from one of two partners to the other of the two partners. So
Yeah.
It's not like we have any unknown agents as a result of this. So are there any questions or comments from the floor? No? Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
no.
All right, hearing none, I would take a vote to authorize the transfer of Mr. Meyer's interest to Mr. Smith.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And do we have anything to execute here as a
Yeah,
result of
they
that?
might be buried, if I can find it.
Yeah, please.
Thanks.
Or it's not in the approved, no.
I'll have to look one up. I may not have done this one.
Okay. If you don't have it, do you think you'd have it tomorrow? Because I could come by and sign.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. There it is.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay.
I think you should all sign.
Yep.
Right here, local licensing authority.
That's fine. Right. Wonderful. I'll give that back to you.
Thank you.
Hold on. Okay. Well, we have a few minutes before the 7:45. So why don't we return for a moment? We'll get back to the Town Administration Study Committee in a moment, but should we complete the discussion on the appointment of a member? As I say, I don't see it as a great issue. We could also appoint somebody, so if ever there is, you know, we might get lucky, and if there's only one person available, it might be that person, but that seems to me to be the only advantage right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Lisa?
It doesn't hurt to appoint somebody, so if you want to do it, that's fine.
Doesn't matter to me either,
Okay.
actually.
All right, any volunteers for that person?
I'm fine if you want me to do it. It's-
Okay. All right.
We have horses, we never go anywhere.
No good. That's one of the real qualifications for this
Yes.
position.
Sadly.
I mean, I'm around like almost all the time, but
Okay.
So would you like a motion?
I would like a motion.
A motion to appoint Lisa for signing the warrant.
Second. Any further comments or discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor? I think that actually makes sense because you're the one who
Well,
looks at
yeah,
all
it's- I
the
mean,
the little
It's
ones.
a clerky kind of thing.
It is,
Just
it
sort of
is.
rotate it probably
It is.
through that.
Although actually in the summer, just to give people a break, generally what we've done is the first person in reviews that, you know, all of them and signs it, so you get a little bit of a break sometimes in the summer. Okay. That's good. Then, shall we have a little discussion on the Town Administration Study Committee?
Yes.
Yeah.
I put copies in there of the warrant language and the proceedings in case you just want to look back at the language.
Oh, sorry, that's appointments.
Yeah, it should be the very back of the window.
Yep.
Things I can forward, I talked to Dave about where they got the language from. So I have sort of the process that it was from
Mhm.
Douglas, I have that process that they went through, so I can forward those.
Oh, the citizens petition, you mean, or?
Well, he went through and pulled the language for the warrant article, and they already went through the whole process.
Okay.
Is it not in
So
there?
there's,
No, I may be in something else. Just a minute.
Yeah, that whole.
Yeah,
I
okay.
will forward on.
Okay. All right. So, just I'll read it through very quickly so people are, to see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to appoint a town management study committee to address the issue of restructuring Berlin's town government to meet the needs of the future. This committee will pursue the model of governance featuring a town administrator while preserving Berlin's open town meeting forum.
There's a copy in there for each of you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I'll read through it anyway because people looking at this who may be interested in volunteering. The study committee will review the town's current organization and management structure at a high level of detail in an attempt to determine what works and what does not work, carefully review all town bylaws and make recommendations for changes to content and format where appropriate, examine all appointed and elected officials and committees to determine if the current method is effective and determine alternatives if necessary, review all potential methods for managing a town of the size of Berlin with special emphasis on the use of a town administrator in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen and an open town meeting, and 4, present a full report including recommendations to the board by February 1st, 2018. The committee shall consist of the following: 1 current selectman, ex officio, the town treasurer, ex officio, the town clerk, ex officio, and 3 residents of the town, 2 of which have strong business backgrounds or act in relation thereto. But that last bit, I believe, was amended on the floor.
So the next page is the proceeding.
Yeah. And so therefore, and 3 residents of the town, 2 of which, etc., was replaced with, said committee shall consist of 5 qualified residents. Okay? And that is in addition to, as I understood the motion, the ex officio members.
All right.
Right. Okay.
Replacing the last paragraph with said committee shall consist of 5 qualified residents. The last paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the
I think the
entire
So I
thinking
think it's
was
the whole
to
thing, right?
omit the whole
Okay.
segment.
Okay.
Replace
So
it.
we're just looking for 5 qualified residents.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the things that I read, they had gone through and interviewed the town clerk, and they had interviewed the pertinent
Sorry,
people
who had?
as a committee.
Oh, yes,
They
okay.
had gone through and interviewed
Okay.
those type of people.
All right. It would seem like the first order of business would be to post this for volunteers.
Right.
Usually we put something out for anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. I don't, if we were to give like 21 days or so, that would still give us time to review applications and have appointments in place at the beginning of that, of the fiscal year in July.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so why don't we post it out and let us, let me see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, okay. 3 weeks minus a day would take us to June 19th. Obviously, the 26th would give us, 1 more week to receive applications, etc. And I think for either of those dates, we could still, have an appointment, if not, actually, why don't we make it the 19th? Because I think we're not meeting that first week of July. So
Right.
Okay.
that's still good. That gives us 3 weeks from tonight. So why don't we, is it okay to suggest
That's the
that
deadline, then, June 19th.
June 19th, let's say 8 o'clock, June 19th?
In the evening.
8
Okay.
o'clock in the evening, yeah.
Okay. Or do you want to do it like noon?
If you let me
or-
do noon, I can compile a list, a spreadsheet for you and give it to you at that night's meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds
that's
good.
fine. Okay. And then that'll give us a chance to look at them for a week.
And you're just gonna put it on the agenda, but just take notice of how many you got, but not make a decision until the next week.
I would say let's make a decision
Okay.
on the 26th, so we have a chance to look at the applications, and then we can agenda it for appointment on the 26th. And that way, we can get that done before we have that week gap in July.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Facebook, the website, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the normal,
And posting in public.
yeah,
Okay.
where we normally post things, yep.
Okay.
Anything else anybody wants to talk about in our last couple minutes before this 7:45?
I don't know. Does the ZBA have an account that they could pay for legal counsel, or is it gonna fall under town council?
They do receive fees, but I don't think, I think those fees go into the general fund.
Oh, okay.
I saw that this afternoon
Yeah.
and I needed to run that down, but I think they do get fees, but
Okay.
the fees are not in an isolated account. I need
Yep.
to check that.
Okay.
Obviously, if they have fees and they can be assigned to that, I think it's a great idea. But
Mhm.
if they don't
Yeah.
have fees that are somehow identifiable for that, then I think we have to pick it up in
Okay.
the general budget.
'Cause I think they only have about $500 in their budget.
Did you by chance get any sort of
ZBA?
notification whether the training that I signed up for, like the first meeting I had given you a thing to sign up for the finance training?
Oh, yeah,
Did we get any sort of, anything back on that? Because that's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
The form would have been given to the accountant, and she would have sent, or the treasurer would have sent that out, like your registration in that. It's tomorrow morning?
It's tomorrow morning. Yeah.
They may have it there.
They might.
They may have it there.
Where is it?
It's in Worcester.
Holy Cross?
At Holy Cross.
And what time does it start?
9.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8:30.
Yeah, you know, I have to go all the way down there at 9 o'clock and find out you're not signed up.
Yikes.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah. I was out of town, so I didn't.
Yeah. Well, she takes the piece of paper and she puts it with the check out, so,
She sends it, you mean?
yeah, she does. She sends in registrations with the check. She wouldn't.
When does she get in?
Next week,
June?
June. Comes back in June,
Okay.
as it were, yeah.
So, because I'd forgotten about that because I was going to say, you could stop by and at least get copies of what she sent, so if there was some problem, you could maybe talk your way in at that time.
Amy would be in earlier. I can text them. I can reach them both by text, actually,
Okay.
and see if,
And see if we could at least then get her a copy of
what was sent in for registration. Yeah, that'd be
And then
good.
if you could pick that up on your way. I mean, I don't
Right.
know what else to do at this
Yeah,
time.
today was madness, so
Yeah.
If they have a copy, I wouldn't think you'd even need a copy.
I wouldn't, no. I just
No, I
wasn't
mean,
sure.
yeah.
We had never gotten any feedback.
Right.
that
I think the
know
point
of
is
that I
that
was
you
even
haven't gotten any
registered.
confirm.
Right.
You don't know it was sent, whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's worth it to at least get
Oh, yeah.
what was sent. I feel very, very badly if you drove down to Worcester in the morning traffic and were turned around, so.
Kind of, Holy Cross is kind of, I wanted to see the campus.
Yeah, well,
I've driven
yeah,
by it
okay.
a few times. It's-
All right, then.
Or you could go to Rotman's.
Okay.
Is that the furniture store?
Yes, it's right near there, yeah. All right, then. We are at 7:45, and this is the Qdoba Mexican Eat Store. It was a new application for an all-alcohol restaurant. And this was noticed appropriately in the newspaper, but the mailing notices to the abutters were deficient in method, not content. We consulted counsel you to confirm that, and they confirmed that. So at this point, we need to reschedule, repost in the newspaper, and resend to the abutters the application. Is there anybody here from Cadova?
No, I actually told them not to.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just want to be sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll.
The date is going to be June 19th.
Okay, and we can.
But
We've got enough time to do that.
There'll be an actual notice, so
Okay.
neighbors will get new notices.
Okay. All right. So that would be June 19th.
Top of the meeting at 7:15.
Okay. All right. Anything else immediately?
I did have one item. I had a phone
Yeah.
call this afternoon, Mary, from Sue Boudreau at Tohoto. And she was looking for, she's one of the secretaries there.
Okay.
She was looking for the letters on the Mabel Marble
Uh-huh,
scholarships.
Yeah,
Are they on your desk or
yeah,
something?
yeah. They're
Okay.
under my desk, yeah.
Actually, you
They're
know
at my
what?
desk.
If you wanted to, I bet you could scan them in and just send them.
I will do
To
that.
her?
I will do that.
Actually, it would be Jane Lavelle.
Jane,
Jane Lavelle,
she's
who's,
a guidance counselor?
she is a secretary, I think, for the guidance counselor.
Okay.
Or she's doing the program. That's what they're working on.
I know, I need to give you guys certificates. When did they graduate? Friday?
Sunday. Sunday. You know what, you might want to give her.
We have time, I can do it now. I'll do it now.
Why don't you,
Yeah.
or you can call Jane,
No, the certificates for you to sign so I can get them.
oh, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
I can do that now.
Okay.
Why don't you?
Yeah, I will.
Why don't we then adjourn for about 12 minutes, because I don't want to start the, we didn't have any other business, right? No
No.
other business?
That was it.
Okay. I don't want to start the discussion on the school until the appointed hour, because I suspect there may be people who are coming for that, so.
All right.
All right, so we will take a brief adjournment until 8 o'clock, so about 12 minutes.
Okay.
We're calling the meeting back to order, and we're going to have a report about the regionalization subcommittee and the possibility of further regionalization of the school district. So those who are presenting, come on up. You can introduce yourselves to the
Yes.
television
I'm
audiences.
Angela Yildiz. This is Lori Martiska. She lives
Hi.
in Boylston. Hi. This is Lisa. Congratulations. Thank you.
Are you
And
new?
Tom.
Tom. Yeah.
And Tom Andrew.
Hi,
Nice to meet
Tim.
you.
It's
Yeah.
a pleasure
Yeah.
to meet you.
And you
Hi.
know Chris Keefe.
Chris,
Hi.
it's
Hi,
nice
Lori.
to see you.
Hi, Angela.
Hi. Hi. All right. So, and Matt, we represent a subcommittee of the Regional School Committee, and Matt Lazaridis is also on our subcommittee, and he was running late and he's not even sure that he'll be able to make it tonight. So, anyway, first of all, thank you, Chris, for volunteering to be on our committee. We appreciate that. So what we're doing now is we are exploring the possibility of expanding the regional agreement, which right now is 6 through 12. It has been since 2013, and in 1962 we formed the regional 7 through 12 when the school was ready. The votes taken by the town was actually 1959. Anyway, so and I think you're all familiar with the current structure that we have, 3 separate school districts and the superintendency union that oversees all 3 schools. So right now we've had 2 feasibility studies done, neither of which we felt were really definitive, and they both had their limitations. And we feel like it's time to now engage the stakeholders in the towns and have some listening sessions, form this committee, and hear various support for our concerns, and then bring those concerns back to the subcommittee and see if we can delve into them. I'm going off my script here, as I tend to do, but essentially you saw our timeline.
Why don't you relate that very briefly, because I think people will, generally in town, will be interested in it.
The
Yeah.
timeline?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the.
So basically,
the major
this
touch
summer
points.
and early this summer will be listening sessions, at least one in each town. The first meeting of the amending the regional agreement committee is June 8th. And so we're gathering, it's going to be a large committee, but we want one selectman from each town, one FinCom rep from each town, hopefully one planning board, one teacher from each school. There's the three of us that are on the subcommittee, and then we have some administration, which are here. These three, our superintendent, our director of pupil personnel, and our finance director. And
Parents
two parents from each town.
and residents.
And hopefully at least one community member. So it'd be quite large.
Non-parent community member.
Yes,
Okay.
that's our hope. So we, that's a basic timeline, and then at some point in the fall, the regional amendment committee will decide if they feel it's fruitful and they want to proceed further. Then, if that's the case, then we do more feedback and community education sessions. We work on the actual language for the regional agreement, and throughout the process of that, we submit it to Department of Ed and make sure they will approve it, everything's on track. And we also have our lawyer, Ross Debris, working with us as well on the committee. So, and then ultimately we go to town vote in May 2018.
Okay.
If it passes in both towns by a majority vote, then we have an interim year where the current regional school committee is the interim school committee. And that's a year of negotiating the contract and getting everything set up. And then it actually doesn't go into effect until July 1 of 2019.
Right.
If it passes in May 2018. So that's
Okay.
that's the basic timeline.
Okay, thank you.
So, and we feel as a school committee that this is best for our districts. We're focused on providing the best educational value for our students in our community. We feel like, why are we exploring this? Because we just have inefficiencies all over the place. We have to do 3 separate contract negotiations. We have to file 3 separate reports. We have to apply for 3 different sets of grants. We have to convene 3 separate school committees. There's a lot of duplication and triplication. So it's we feel it's a wasted time and effort that diverts time on educational improvements, and it's an inefficient use of our educational resources, and it's an inflexible system that we struggle with on an ongoing basis. Right now, we're very pleased with our leadership team. We feel like they're putting our schools in a great momentum. We've seen a lot of great gains under this leadership team. We don't want to lose them. We want the ability to retain who we have, and also the ability to recruit quality leadership as well. And our current structure is not advantageous for that.
Okay.
So the big question I think on everyone's mind is, will this save money? And it is a modest savings. It's most of that will come from Chapter 71 travel reimbursement, bonus aid, and health insurance savings. Most of the time when you're dealing with a situation like ours, where you're not consolidating schools, you're not laying off 2 superintendents and going just to 1, you're not going to see a huge cost savings. But over time, with not having to, being able to retain our leadership, I think that and being cost-effective measures, I think you will see some avoided costs and larger increases over time.
While we're on saving money, obviously one of the immediate questions that I had was, we obviously have disparate pay. How do you avoid this becoming the highest common denominator rather than the lowest common denominator? I mean, it seems to me if it's going to be the highest common denominator, that's going to be really easy to sell. But have you given thought to that? Is there?
Yes. So by Mass General Law, the Berlin teachers cannot be paid lower. So that will be part of the negotiating when we negotiate the new contract, what salary scale will we use. And they ultimately would be gaining retiree health insurance. So I think the first study that was done took Berlin teacher salary and applied it to everyone. I honestly don't foresee that happening. That would be,
I do.
well,
I do.
But I
You do,
presume
but
when
you
you do
too.
the cost and so on,
Right.
you're going to take that obviously into account.
of course.
It also, what you do doesn't have to be done in year one. You can actually phase in changes over 2 or 3 years.
And of course,
So-
retiree health insurance is expensive, so the report is going to include those expenses, obviously.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Right.
I absolutely no, we can't, we can't answer those questions
Right.
tonight. but,
Right.
Yeah.
I do think it's important to just say one thing about we've, over 3 years, really, we've looked at a couple of different feasibility studies, both of which had some financial pieces to them. They were predicated on some assumptions, and we're at a point now where we feel like the exploratory committee really needs to dive in to, with Bob's help in particular, dive into the numbers and really sift through that,
Mhm.
because there were some sort of oddities at the end of at least one of the reports where we said, okay, that's more of an issue of where's enrollment going? It was kind of producing several variables at one
Right.
time, which I think was confusing the picture a little bit.
Mhm.
Because obviously as one community's enrollment increases and the other one decreases, obviously your proportions go,
Right.
accordingly.
Yeah.
So,
No, and I think the issues that I was talking about are not issues that can be addressed by any kind of assumption. I mean, those are hard
Right.
numbers.
right.
If we have to extend,
Right.
retirement health care, that means something. If we
Right.
have to apply the Berlin pay scale to the entirety of the personnel, that's a hard number. And I think, I'll tell you right now, without those kind of hard numbers and that analysis, you're not going to get any kind of recommendation from me on it. And I don't think you're going to be able to,
Yeah, and we're
to
not.
bring that to people, to the voters.
There are some numbers in the feasibility studies,
Right.
but we're not here tonight to seek any kind of support or
Oh, no. No, all I'm
answer,
saying is
or
that-
we're starting a process.
Right.
It's helpful to understand, and that's the first part of this from our perspective, is really gathering feedback. What are the primary concerns
That's,
that people
yeah,
have?
and that's what I'm trying to give you on.
Which is helpful.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
And the one that I hear come up a lot is, we need to make sure that this isn't just administrative. It needs to really be about the kids. I've had somebody actually say, I don't mind if I pay more if you prove to me why this is going to help our kids, why this is going to make the school better for our kids.
Right.
So I think that really needs to be a focus of whatever you're doing.
absolutely.
Right. That actually was a comment that came up when we met with the Boylston Selectmen as well. But that's kind of why we're here tonight. We want to hear your initial comments, your initial feedback, and just keep you in the loop of the whole process. So what other thoughts do you have?
One of the questions that I had is, obviously we have and I, forgive me, I don't know that much about the physical plant in Boylston. We built, within the last couple of decades, a new elementary school. Are there any capital needs at the elementary school level at Boylston that would be rolled into this? I just don't know, but, and, if there are, how would that be dealt with equitably,
Right.
Maureen, may I just interject?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's a great question, a great topic, that also can be a decision of how you make your regional agreement,
Right.
language of a regional agreement.
Absolutely.
So if that becomes a concern with the towns, and we hear between the two towns both ways, that's something that, when it's time to reestablish that regionalization agreement, you can talk about that
Yeah.
area of the
No, I agree with you completely. I think in terms of allocating capital costs, you have a lot more flexibility probably frankly, then you will end up having on the labor side just one man's opinion that, yeah.
You do have some flexibility on the labor side too, though. You don't have to, you can't send anyone backwards, but
No,
that doesn't mean
I
you
understand all
can't-
that.
you
All I'm
can't
saying
hold
is that-
someone
Yeah.
in place
Yeah.
and let other people catch up.
No, I
too,
hear you. All I'm saying is that I think, if there are different, capital expenditure requirements,
Yeah.
that's something that the two towns at an executive level can talk about and everything.
Right.
When you're talking about, what people make, what their benefits are, and so on, it's just more complicated. I'm not saying you don't have flexibility. I'm just saying it's more complicated, as our president says.
Healthcare is complicated.
Yeah. Anyway.
What else? What are
Are
other?
you looking for concerns about regionalization then?
Yeah.
Yeah, your thoughts?
Because I thought it was just sort of I spent this afternoon looking over the Abrahams Group
Mhm.
study. And, there's a lot of unknowns that this was done in even 2016, and
And it already feels a little
and
out
it
of date.
feels old
doesn't
already.
it? I
Mhm.
know. I felt the same way.
I think, I have a question, first of all. How much was the reimbursement for transportation this year? The percentage, do you know?
It was a little bit under 70%. I don't remember the exact 68, 69%.
Okay, so it is similar to this one, which is 66. But it's been known to fluctuate.
Absolutely.
It's whatever's appropriated, so you can't count on that. I've always thought that maybe a good suggestion would be to lobby for better incentives from the state to regionalize, then bring this forward.
Yeah.
There's just not anything really strong out there to...
Well, you raise a good point. I mean, I know in other areas, for instance, we benefited on the public safety side from, regionalizing dispatch and so on.
Right.
That the state has programs, at very least, to initially assist regionalization. Are there such, again, because I don't work on the education side of the house, I work on the general government side, are there such things available?
Yes.
There
it's-
actually, yeah, there are a couple of different kinds of things. I mean, one thing that is reflected in, I think, in the Abraham and maybe the other feasibility as well, is something called bonus aid, which is from the state based on, it's a very small incentive for districts to regionalize. The other piece was, there were some grants that were available. We've just never quite been at the right place at the right time to really capitalize on that.
Mhm.
You may recall that we came here, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, with a grant, and what we were hoping to do was what we're doing right now, which is an exploratory committee
Remember?
to
Mhm.
look at this. But what the grant was looking for us to do is actually to begin the regionalization
Right, to support the
process.
administration of regionalization.
And we
I
weren't
remember that.
there, and you guys weren't there yet.
No.
We really,
No, and that's actually what I was thinking of when I asked the question. And again, you're looking for input. What I'm suggesting is
Yeah.
that the committee should, in the course of their thing, look at that, and obviously that, and, I'm probably just stating the obvious, but if you're asking for input, I would suggest that the report should include the availability of those things. The grant that we decided we were not interested in, 2 or 3 years ago, is something obviously we might be interested in the event that we actually voted to regionalize. So just to identify things like that are important.
it's a good point.
Yeah.
Good. What else?
I don't think that we as a town have had any data on what the improvements have been at Tohoto since 6th grade moved up.
Okay.
I mean, there were so many concerns. Have those been addressed? More or less, this is going to have to be like a marketing sort of thing. And one thing that I think would really benefit Berlin would be to have a presence here. you have no presence here except at town meeting and, once a year for your annual hearing for your budget. Be nice to have a presence. People see you.
Mhm.
Having just gone through the campaign process, that comes up a lot, the disconnect, the feeling that Tohoto is really far away, that nothing happens here. I heard that over and over and over again.
Okay.
And I
That's
guess
helpful.
be receptive to people's comments and concerns when, we know that you guys want to do this, but you're going to have to listen to what other people feel too.
I think that's a really important point, Chris. And to be totally honest, we've struggled with this over several years because I couldn't sit here today and say to you, we're 100% sure that we can make this all work. But we reached a point where we said, we have a few things that are a little unusual for us, and it felt like this is the right time for us to do an exploration, but pull stakeholders in. Don't feel like the school committee has to come up with all the answers on our own. We really want this to be a bona fide exploration. And is it possible it would come out and say, you know what, we can't overcome the concerns, or it doesn't make sense for whatever reason, then we'll accept that. That's a piece of the...
For about 10 years and then
Yeah,
bring it back
and
again.
then it will
Can
come
we
up
take a little
again.
break from this? It's been going on forever.
Yeah, I think things are a little bit different at the present, though. I really think that there are some things that...
The other piece, I think, just to be aware of, when talking to people, the people from within the school district seem to support, or with kids in, seem to support regionalization. The people outside whose kids are no longer there, who are part of the town, they do not. So there's a disconnect there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it was like, it was cut and dry too. If you were within, you sort of supported it. If you were without, you did not.
Why do you think that is?
I could not tell you. Like I said, I was just trying to get a feel for how things were playing out in the town, and that was what it was. And I heard good things on both sides, good arguments on both sides. So it.
What else?
One sort of just practical thing is, I'd suggest you publicize, the meetings where you want some public input very well, and that you see that they're taped so that they can be broadcast. Because I think, particularly if you're starting in the summer, you may have, 4 or 5, 6 interested people, and that's it. But I think if you tape them and you put them out, you'll get some, benefit. And I would strongly recommend that you talk to cable and
Sure.
get that coverage.
Sure.
Yeah.
And certainly our goal would be to have a forum in Berlin and a forum in Boylston, not just to do something right at Tohoto, so that it's as convenient.
Yes,
and
apropos of what Lisa just said, that would be very wise.
easy. We're trainable.
Yeah, you got it. You're taking notes.
We're
Yeah.
taking notes.
Yeah.
What else? Chris, did you have other things?
Well, I'm
you
sure I
want-
do, but I'll be at the June
Right,
8th
June 8th.
meeting.
Right.
So-
Great.
Right. And if at any time you have another thought, feedback, question, idea, you can email Cheryl Nelson, because she's kind of collecting
Okay.
questions for us, and we hope to have
Is that something that's been advertised, that you're looking for questions, or?
not yet.
Okay.
But we're planning to have a portion on our website where we can post all the questions and
And maybe
things like
also
that.
carry that over onto the town website when you're done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, you remember when you had the building construction, how there was an actual, like a tab on the website for the building construction?
Mhm.
They're hoping to do the same
Yeah.
thing, have a tab, so it's for the regional committee. And then any questions that come up, what they're hoping to do is actually have the committee develop, here's the questions, and then the pros and cons of the answers, and have that published, as well as like a running tab. So if people have questions or what have you, they can kind of see that those questions have already been answered, or this is either favorable or not, but to actually have an objective perspective so that people can take that to face
Even
value.
better in person, though.
I'm sorry?
Even better in person.
No, I know
Yeah, I
that. I
know.
just mean like, in
Yeah.
between, throughout the process.
Exactly.
They're gonna do the forums, but even as those questions are coming out, they're not gonna necessarily have the answers that night. They're really
Right.
just listening to questions. And then the committee hopefully will be able to work together to find the answers to those types of questions.
Right. I think you've got your work cut out for you, because connecting with the people who are not involved with schools is really difficult.
Mhm.
Your connections are with the school, and
Right.
you somehow need to get
Yep.
connected with the people who are not in the school.
How do you suggest that we do that in Berlin? What are
Well, I
some-
think, having a forum in Berlin, and not just one.
Yeah.
Maybe
And
here,
as I said,
maybe.
to tape it, to get it out on cable, and then to have another, because my suspicion is you'll get, particularly if you're in the summer, you get a modest turnout the first time, but if people see what's being discussed and so on, and it's out there and, and available on YouTube and stuff like that, I think that will help in a second cut to get people out there.
Does it make sense to you, I still want to hear what some of your other thoughts are on that.
But you got most of my thoughts. One said one.
But I just wanted to follow up. If we were doing multiple forums, and we did one this summer, and then planned one for the fall, I think the thought might be that maybe by the fall, we also know a lot more of the questions that have come up.
Yes, hopefully.
And we can share some of that as well as continue to elicit.
No,
Is that-
absolutely. I mean, if you have a second forum, it should not be the same as the first forum, and you're going to have learned things in the first forum that you can address.
Right.
My suspicion is you will probably, you have to watch your house, and if you had 8 people at the first forum and 80 at the second, you're obviously going to deal with new material, but you'll also have to probably go over what you did in the first forum for the, the first 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, but to get people along. But I do think you ought to look at it as an accretion, start
Yeah.
and react. I mean, but this thing is going to be like, frankly, it's like shooting pool. You're going to take your first shot and your forum, and then you have to step back from the table and see where all the balls are and where all the questions are, and then plan your next move. I don't think anybody can sit here and say tonight, we're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, because I really don't know what the questions are, and I honestly, I think, I've learned probably more tonight listening to Lisa about, what the public feels about this than I've known before, and I don't think,
And the feelings are strong. They're very strong on both sides. So just be aware of what you're stepping into. There really isn't a whole lot of neutral ground there. It's either I hate the idea or I think it's great. I had nobody neutral. Everybody had pretty strong opinions on this.
and of course, all of this without really knowing what the idea is. Because, ultimately the ideas are the structural details, the costs, and the benefits, and nobody knows that. But you're starting out with people who have a lot of opinions on one side or the other.
Right. I think, too, one of the things we've been starting out with is saying, at this point in time, I don't think we feel like we can promise that this is going to save money. I don't think.
No, and
Based on-
I don't think we even should say what we can't promise at this meeting. You're just here to get our input. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be saying at this point you can't promise, because I don't think anybody knows. I think you ought to draw that out. If in fact there is something, fine. If there isn't, fine. But we need to know the facts before we start to talk about the facts.
Right.
Yeah.
And truly, like I said before, you need to focus on why this benefits the students.
Mhm.
The
Because people are
educational
much
benefit.
less concerned about the cost than what it's actually going to accomplish for the kids.
Did that come from, even from people who didn't have kids in the school?
Yep.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is actually.
Yeah,
It's
it's
kind
really
of
good. I like it.
encouraging that.
I like it.
Any
I'm
other?
sure there are plenty, we have a lot of fiscal conservatives. in
Yes,
town,
you,
so I'm
yeah,
sure you're gonna get
yeah.
that.
There will be a few of those.
those in
I think there'll be a
town.
few of those
I
that'll come out.
wouldn't
Yes,
expect
yes.
no
There will be a
feedback
few
on
of
that,
those.
because there will be feedback
Yeah.
on that, but.
That's
Anything else?
incredibly helpful, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's-
Thanks.
Let me ask if there's anybody, first of all, any other comments or something from the board? Is there anybody out in, who's here tonight that has something that they want to say? Any ex-selectmen or anything like that that might have something to say?
Judy, I didn't see you back there.
That you need to go look in Northborough, because Northborough has the exact same setup that you have currently, and they seem to do very well, both academically and in their towns. It seems to work out, so.
You're saying Northborough has a hybrid like we do?
Yes,
Yes.
Northborough has 2 separate elementary schools and a regionalized high school.
Okay. Yep.
And actually, I think our goal would be to look at a number of different school districts who have a variety of setups to see what we can learn from that. So Northborough's a great example. Other suggestions,
Anything else from
comments,
the-
questions?
Studio audience, as
We
they
have
say.
some reports that you're reading, Chris, what's?
Yeah,
things available?
well, I asked our secretary to have the schools send it to me. I actually have an extra copy if you're interested.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it raises the issue that, you ought to consider the ability of having those available, at least when somebody questions you.
Right.
And I think if you're making it available, you should also feel perfectly free to put a cover on it. And in other words, if you feel the earliest one is of limited use and has these weaknesses, I would encourage you, 1, to make it available, and 2, also to put a cover on it to say, why somebody should look at it with a grain of salt or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And summaries are.
Yeah.
You request someone from the planning board.
Correct.
This is a plan, and us planning boards do, but they plan. But the things we do on the planning board, we have the master plan, we look at economics, we look at recreation, we look at housing. But also the thought of going in and looking at a zoning bylaws. Do we have to change district? We have to change where the districts are. Do we have to change the regulations that are within the zoning bylaws to help economics or to help housing? How do you see us working, the planning board working into this? Do you see anything? Obviously, I don't think you're going to have any kind of new zoning district or land. I mean, we don't have any kind of zoning bylaws. I think that directly affect education, so.
I think the thought process really has been that, and you started out by saying that planning boards plan. And I think a part of what we're looking at this process being is about the quality of life in the communities. And the planning board is intrinsically involved in that as well. So our thought was that we wanted representation from planning to also provide some help potentially with other aspects of planning that you're very accustomed to doing that might fit into some of
We'll start out,
the.
we'll see how it goes and what we can do for it.
That's a very reasonable thought. And if it feels like it's a real waste of your time, then you're excused.
All right. Excellent. Anything else from the
Thank
floor? Anything from the?
The only thing I can say is I know when I first got here 5 years ago, this was a hot topic. I think I was asked this almost every day. And, you know, my answer was always, you know, this is not my task, it's not my hat, it's not my job, it's not my role. So I really commend the school committee for the work that they have been doing for the last 3 years, because they have had some very challenging and difficult conversations at the table at their meetings, and they've decided to go forward to say, let's bring others, and it was a big breaking point for the school committee to realize, wait a minute, we don't have to have all the answers to invite everybody. We're better off actually not having all the answers, because we can come together with all different parties and have a true, authentic development and discovery together, having all the boards and community members, and I really commend them for taking on this daunting task, so
No,
that's all I have to say.
I would applaud that too, because, you know, I think, I don't know how you know the facts, what kind of tea you drink to read the tea leaves unless you go through this process. That's one, and that's fact-finding and, you know, good discipline in that regard. And the other is that that kind of process also has the effect of socializing an issue. So that, you know, people are familiar with it, people have seen the questions have been discussed in public forums. You know, one of the most difficult things about our form of government with town meeting and so on is the fact that you ask people to come in, plant their butts in the chair, and, you know, make all kinds of complicated decisions. And so I think it's really, really important that you develop a core of people who understand what you're doing, have asked questions, and had those questions addressed, because otherwise it's really, really difficult to manage something like this at town meetings. So, yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Lisa.
It's nice to meet you.
So is the meeting on June 8th at Tohoto?
It is at Tohoto.
Okey-doke.
In the multipurpose
They don't
room.
all
You know the
have
way,
to
right?
be there, Chris.
Yes, I know, but I'm just, because I don't think it was anywhere on the information where the meeting
Oh,
was.
okay.
So,
All right.
okay.
All right. Okay. Is there anything else to come before the board in open session? I'm going to suggest we go into executive session for a minute or two. Nothing else that the board wishes to discuss in open session? Okay. Is there anything from the floor that anybody wants to discuss in open session?
So we're all set with the aggregation.
Yes.
June 7th, Wednesday, June 7th.
Yeah, we're going to actually have a meeting of the selectmen and
At 12:30.
at 12:30. And we'll-
Joint with Energy.
Yeah.
Yep,
Joint.
yep, okay.
Okay. All right. If there is
Just one question.
Oh, yeah, sure, of course.
What's happened with the building inspector recruiting? We sent you three
Oh,
names last week.
yes, indeed. We have scheduled interviews
Yeah.
for next,
June 5th,
yeah,
7:15, 7:35, 7:55.
Oh, okay.
and then I think after that, we may wish to have a meeting with the advisory committee and then, you know, sort of talk about what we think and then come to a decision.
Okay. Is anyone going to do reference checks? Is that normally part of the
We